what's going on, fight fans? Hey, this is Coach D the Wild Man coming at you again with another episode of Coach D Media. Now, you know I do a Coach D Media. I talk about all things combat sports related, from the highs to the lows. All right, let's get back into it. It seems we're not quite done with RAF, Real American Freestyle. So now we're getting some blowback about Holly Holmes competing in RAF, an MMA fighter competing in freestyle wrestling. Now, their problem with that is that she doesn't have a wrestling pedigree at all on any level. She comes from boxing, kickboxing, and MMA. She's never competed in wrestling at all, to our knowledge. So a lot of fans consider that, I'm not going to say a lot of fans, some of the fans that I've seen consider that not necessarily good for the sport of freestyle wrestling. So if you look at overall, most of your MMA fighters who competed at RAF didn't do very well. So Lance Palmer versus Austin Gomez. Austin gave Palmer the business. Same thing with Darren Caldwell versus Real Woods. Real Woods also gave Darren Caldwell the business. Now, Darren did good in the first round. After that, it was a wrap. Now, of course, Holly Holmes gave a very good showing against Rivera. She did very, very well. Ended up being 9-7. So Holly Holm gave a good showing. But of course, we have Bo Nichols against Jacob Carnes, if I'm saying it right. And Bo Nichols won that. I mean, Bo Nichols didn't dominate. He won, but let's say it wasn't like it was a blowout. You know, it was a good back and forth a little bit, but Bo ended up getting the win overall. So only Bo was the only wrestler coming from MMA that actually won on that card. All the other MMA fighters who came from MMA into wrestling, they all lost. So you can make that argument that MMA wasn't matching up. But they specifically had a problem with Holly Holmes because Palmer, Caldwell, of course, Bo, all had wrestling backgrounds who went from wrestling into MMA. So they were considered okay. But since Holly Holmes didn't have any wrestling background, they considered that she shouldn't have been able to do it. Okay? Now, granted, she put on a show. Everybody got on board. Everybody loved it. So if it's a win for the sport, it's your personal views that has a problem with it. Now, granted, if she did a horrible job and things went completely wrong and there was boos in the crowd and nobody liked it, then you would have a decent argument. But consider everybody enjoyed it that we saw during the event, after the event, everybody was on board. You can't see it as a bad thing. Now, the question I have is, was Holly Holm qualified to compete? As a combat athlete in MMA, excuse me, in MMA, Holly Holmes probably had to grapple quite a bit in wrestling to become proficient enough to deal with the likes of Cyborg, Ronda Rousey, Misha Tate, freaking, who else? Slipped my mind. I forgot. It was another I was supposed to mention. Mine just went blank, right? But Holly Holmes had to compete with a number of wrestlers in order to be able to win some of the matches that she's won. So she had to have trained in wrestling quite a bit. Now, is she on an NCAA level? No. Olympic level? No. But I'm pretty sure she could handle herself grappling, and she did. She handled herself very well. So I don't think it's necessarily fair to say that she does not belong. Look at George St. Pierre in MMA. He handled many a wrestler on the mat when it came to MMA. He had a very high level wrestling for somebody who didn't wrestle. So we can only assume that they knew what they were doing when they picked Holly Holmes. That it wasn't this a drop in the bucket. They didn't go out there and go, hey, let's get anybody that's a female to come in there and do something. No, they picked Holly Holmes for a reason, and rightly so, because how well she did and how the crowd responded. This is still a business at the end of the day, right? People want to see great matchups. Now, if you're looking for pure wrestling and only pure wrestling, of course, there's plenty of wrestling you can watch. But if you're looking for pro wrestling, put on, start it with Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, and you think there's not going to be some degree of entertainment in there, then you're not paying attention. You're not paying attention, right? Yes, there is going to be some degree of entertainment in there, and Holly Holmes may have been it, especially since Kennedy Blaze couldn't compete. So it wasn't like they chose Holly Holmes from the beginning, right? Freaking Kennedy Blaze could not compete because of some reason. And she was in Holly Holmes' corner. So that was cool. They made it work at the end of the day. So you didn't have to bash it. They made it work. You know, they said, yeah, you could have picked there could have been a number of wrestlers you could have picked to step up, right? But how many had name recognition? That would have did what Holly Holmes did for the promotion. Not many. Now you look at it from the business side, which I think a lot of people overlooked. It's still a business to generate eyeballs, ticket sales, and repeat business. And Holly Holm did it. She did it. She sold that. In my opinion, she stole the show. So if you don't like her competing, you're taking it personal. If you accept it at face value for what she did for that match, you got to give it to her. She did a great job. She did a great job. So the question is, does MMA athletes belong in Real American Freestyle as a promotion? I guess time will tell. Right now, all the MMA fighters who came from wrestling outside of Bo got dealt with. So wrestling proved the point overall. So it is what it is. So that's all I got. I wanted to go, hey, let's continue on with this because it's getting kind of interesting. This is Coach D doing what I'm doing, calling it like I see it, talking my share of shit. To hear from me again, peace out.